Are you thinking about selling your home but would like to try and do it yourself to save a little money? Real estate expert Monte Mohr is joining us today to give us some advice on how to go at it alone in today's market. Monte, welcome back to the show.
Great to be here, Casey.
We have a few questions today.
I appreciate these questions. You know, a lot of people find themselves without a lot of equity in their homes and are trying to save the money to do a for sale by owner, what we in the industry call a FSBO. But I'm glad to help anybody, whatever their goals are.
Right, well, we appreciate the help that you're giving them. Let's start with Jessica from Mount Juliet. She writes in and says, we've decided to sell our home this year, but want to try to do it on our own. We watch you all the time on Channel 4 and appreciate the information you freely share. Can you give us some guidelines when selling without the help of a realtor?
Well, just like with the help of a realtor, Casey, the number one thing is price. You've got to price your home correctly. The next thing is presentation. And if you're not a good photographer, it's probably worth spending a couple $100s to pay a photographer, because that home is the representation. I mean, online is what they're going to assume it looks like in person, so you can't cut any corners there. Then make sure you've got lots of internet exposure. You know, 90% of the buyers are going online before they do anything else. When you're showing your house, and honestly, there's over 100 things, and I'm glad to provide them a list of these things, but when you're showing the house, give the buyer some space. It's hard as a buyer to feel comfortable when the seller is looming over their shoulder.
Exactly.
When you're negotiating, make sure that you know what your bottom line is. Make sure that you know the lender they're dealing with, because not all lenders are created equal. So there's a lot of things to share, but I'll be glad to provide them a list of those.
A lot of different factors. You always give great advice on that. All right, our second question comes from Robert from Spring Hill. He says, I bought my home 3 years ago and have no equity, so I'm trying to sell my home on my own. Can you tell me what my closing costs will run when I sell?
That's really important to know. Your costs as a seller typically run about 1.5% of the sales price. But remember, 90% of probably at least 90% of the qualified buyers are out there are with the realtors. So you need to calculate a 3% broker's fee in there when you're figuring your costs. So use a total of 4.5 if you're not using a real estate professional. And if you're really tight on the margin, the best way to calculate what you need to sell it to cover everything is take your loan balance, divide it by 0.95, and then you can come up with a gross sales price of what you have to get in order to cover those costs.
Okay, good information.
0.95.
Our last question is Jesse and Melissa from Smyrna. They ask, we're trying to sell our home by ourselves to save the commission. My mother was a real estate agent several years ago and said she could help us do so. We have our sign up and an ad on our website, but haven't gotten many showings. Can you give us any other recommendations to help us sell? We really want a larger home and want to get our kids in a different school district before school starts next year. So they're kind of on a time clock.
Well, Jesse and Melissa, it sounds like you're going to buy another home. And in all sincerity, if you're going to buy another home, it doesn't make any sense to go through the pain and suffering of being a for sale by owner. It just really doesn't. To be honest, with my program, we sell homes for free. It'd be like going to an expensive restaurant, Casey, and waiting on your own table, pouring your own drinks, going into the kitchen, fixing your own meal, and then washing all the dishes, and then still being given the opportunity to pay $120 for that experience.
Right.
It wouldn't make any sense. With my program, we sell homesforfree.com. I do everything for you as long as you're going to buy another home through me. It just doesn't make any sense to do this if you're going to buy another home.
Right. Let's quickly take a look at our happy customers of the week.
Yes, we've got some really good ones.
Now, the first one is Barb and Bill in Spring Hill.
I just got done, we just closed on these folks just recently, and they're first-time buyers, got them into a brand new home without any money out of their pocket. They went through the THDA program. Great couple.
And these all closed last week, you said.
Yes.
Second one is Jim in Hermitage.
Jim in Hermitage, he needed to run to Florida. He's the manager of a restaurant down there. We sold his home in 55 days.
Oh, wow. And then another one in Hermitage, this is Brett.
And Brett moved here from Florida, didn't know the area. We looked at a lot of homes, and he found one that he loved a lot. It's a beautiful home, and he also was able to get into it with nothing out of his pocket. He actually got his earnest money back at closing.
Oh, wow.
Happy camper.
They have reasons to be happy, for sure. Monte, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the privilege.
Hey, if you need help buying or selling your home, call the Mohr Group at 615-376-4500, or to reach Monte directly, call 615-300-8393. We also have a link to the website, WeSellHomesForFree.com. It's up on the More at Midday section of WSMV.com.